Okay, good morning. So today we will be finishing paper 1 of the November 2020, last year's end of the year grade 10 paper. And we probably will be starting the second paper as well. At this point you guys have completed answering both questions, okay? So I think we had question 3 now, no? Yes. So at question 3 we are told the diagram shows the graph of f of x equals mx plus c. So what type of graph is that? Y is equal to mx plus c or f of x equal to mx plus c? It's a straight line graph. And g of x equals ax squared plus q is your parabola graph. R, which is here, and S, which is 2 and 0, are the x-intercepts of G, and T is 0 and 8, which is there, the y-intercept of the G graph and the F graph. The graph F passes through T and R. As you can see, it's indicated is going through those two coordinates. Okay. So all the information on the diagram, all the information from the introduction to the sums on the diagram. I'm just going to move it up so that I can have, I'm just going to write this down here. F of x equals mx plus c, and g of x equals ax squared plus q. Okay. The first question says, write down the range of G. So what is the range? All possible Y values. So the range of G, so the G of X graph, this is the G of X graph, it's a parabola graph. So the question is, does this graph exist at negative infinity? Does the graph exist at negative infinity? Yes, because as you can see, the graph is going all the way down to negative infinity. Where does the graph stop existing at? 8. So it's 8 downwards. Not so. So it's a y value, so it's a y in 8. So it has to be less than. Does the graph exist at 8? Yes. So it has to be equal as well. The range is y less than or equal to. Write down the coordinates of R. What do you know about a parabola graph is symmetrical about the axis of symmetry, which means to say if I fold this graph close, that part will fall exactly onto this part. Which means to say that 0 and OS is the same as OR. The length of OS is the same as the length of OR. So that is going to be 2 and this is going to be 2. Not so? So what is the coordinates of R? Negative 2 and 0. Why? Negative. It's a negative part of your x-axis. It has to be negative. Okay? You all okay with that? The next question says, calculate the value of A and Q. Calculate the value of A and Q. So where are we getting A and Q from? Where are we getting A and Q from? From the equation of the equation of the straight line. No, it's not the equation of parabola. Not so? So if we got g of x equal ax squared plus q, what can we determine straight away at this point? Q is going to be 8. That's what your y-intercept. Not so? So in other words, my equation now reads g of x is equal to ax squared plus 8. Now what? How are we going to calculate a? We're going to substitute. What are we going to substitute? S, which is 2 and 0. Not so? There's an x and a y. So 0 is equal to a times 2 squared plus 8. Okay, so what is 2 squared? 4. You bring it over, becomes negative 4. A is equal to 8. Divide by negative 4 both sides, so a is equal to negative 2. In other words, this equation is negative 2x squared plus 8. Does it make sense? Yes, since that is negative, the graph is rounded. Not so? So that's that. Any confusion at this stage? No? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this here as we have populated the diagram and have affected the information that we've calculated here now. The next question says, determine the equation of f. So what type of graph is f of x? A straight line. To calculate the equation of a straight line, I need 2 points on the graph, which I do have. I have R and T. Not so? So? So we say for the gradient, how you calculate gradient? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Not so. If you make that x1, this will be y1. If this is x2, y2, and so on. Okay? There we go. 8 minus 0 over 0 minus 2. So it's 8 divided by 2, which is 4. Does it make sense? Yes. The graph is increasing. There's a positive gradient. Okay, or you say the graph is lying to the right, so it must have a positive gradient anyway. But this shows your C value. 8. This was your y-intercept. Not so? So what is the equation? Remember, this question was for the equation. F of x equal to 4x. Okay, you guys okay with that? Then in 3.1.5, question 3.1.5, A. They want to know, use the graph to determine the value of the values of x for which f of x is equal to g of x. So what does that mean? We must look where the graph is intersecting. Not so. It's the points of intersection here that's being taken into account. Alright. So there are 2 points of intersection, namely at R and T. Not so. They want to know for which values of x do they intersect. And for which values of x do they intersect? At x is equal to negative 2 or x is equal to 0. Do you see that? Then they say, where's g of x less than 0? What does that mean to say? It means to say where the g of x graph is negative. So the g of x graph is the parabola. Is the parabola negative or positive here? Huh? Negative. Why? What makes that graph negative? It's below the x-axis. Can you see that, people? This part of the graph here, it is positive from there to there. Not so. Again, it's negative from there to there. So is this a continuous solution or is it a broken solution? It's broken. It's a part. Not so. So in other words, x must be x must be less than negative 2. Or in that direction, x must be more than 2. Any confusion here, people? No? Here's one more question regarding this here. We are told the graph of h is obtained when g, so what is the equation of g? G of x equals negative 2x squared plus 8. The graph of g of x is reflected along the line y is equal to 0. So the y is equal to 0 line is also what? Your x axis. Not so. Your x-axis. Write down the equation of h in that form. So what's the rule if something is reflected in the x-axis? Y becomes negative. Okay? So where's your y here? G of x is your y. Not so. So that becomes negative y is equal to negative 2x squared plus 8. Now what? How do I get y to be positive? Divided out by negative. So y is equal to 2x squared minus. And that's the equation of h of x. Alright? Any confusion here? No? In question 3.2. Question 3.2, we are told, determine the point of intersection of m of x, which is 2x plus 1, and p of x, which is 2 over x plus 1, graphically. Graphically means what? Let's draw the graphs, not so. Draw the graphs clearly showing all asymptotes as well as intercepts, and the x-intercept and y-intercept be applicable. Okay? So what type of graph is m of x? It's a straight line graph. What's your y-intercept of the straight line? It's 1. Not so. How do I get that? Y-intercept, let x equal to 0. So you got m of 0 equals 2 times 0 plus 1, which is 1. X-intercept, what do you do for x-intercept? Let y equal to 0. We know it's going to be negative half, but say you didn't. So it's negative 2x is equal to 1. X is equal to negative half. You all agree with that? Shukran. And of course the point it's going through is the graph of m of x. You all okay with that? Let's look at the graph of p of x. What type of graph is p of x? Hyperbola graph. This has an asymptote at y is equal to 1 and the other one x equal to 0. This denominator can never be equal to 0. Otherwise the sum will be undefined. So there are two, and also we don't draw a dotted line on the solid line. Nothing wrong with us yet. So that's your asymptote. This is positive. So which quadrants does it lie in? It's positive. 1 and 3. So it's going to be this quadrant here and that quadrant here. That's all? So, clearly I can see there's no no y-intercept here. Not so? But say we didn't know that. We say y-intercept. Y-intercept let x equal to 0. So y is equal to 2 over 0 plus 1. That would have given you an undefined solution. Not so? So you say no, y-intercept. There we go. X-intercept. What do you do for x-intercept? Let y equal to 0. Because 0 is equal to 2 over x plus 1. You take that over, becomes negative 2 over x is equal to 1. Cross multiply, so x is equal to negative 2. So it's approximately here. No? You all okay with that? See if I can move this. Okay. So it's going to cut at negative 2, so approximately here. And of course that's going to be extended. That's going to happen there. The same thing is going to happen. Not so. So here we can see, I would say this graph is going to cut approximately at negative 1. No? Make sense? Let's check if negative 1 is going to work. I'll put negative 1 in here. It's going to be 2 times negative 1 plus 1, which is negative 1. I put negative 1 in here. 2 divided by negative 1 plus 1, which is negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. So this coordinate here, with what they ask here, draw these graphs clearly showing all asymptotes as well as x and y intercepts be applicable. Determine the points of intersection. So the one point is going to be negative 1 and negative 1, and the other one is going to be here. So take a guess, what do you think is going to be? Yes, 1. So 2 over 1. What is 2 over 1? 2 plus 1 is 3. So you put 1 in there. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So it's going to be 1 and 2. Okay. Even if you had drawn a grid, it would have been much easier for you to see. Okay? You all okay with that? That is 3.2. Question 3.3. Question 3.3, we are told the sketch below shows the graph of f of x equals b to the exponent x plus q. Point A, which is 2 and 5, appears on the graph. Calculate the value of b and q. If the question was, determine the equation of this graph, I would do exactly the same thing I'm doing. But just consider the one step that follows this. Okay? So what's the first thing we can write down at this point? What's the first thing we can write down? Q is equal to? Q is equal to? 1. Why? Because that's your horizontal asymptote. Q is equal to 1. So f of x now reads f of x equal to b to the x plus 1. Now what? We substitute a, which is 2 and 5. Are you all okay with that? So it's going to be x and a y. So 5 is equal to b to the 2 plus 1. Take it over, b squared is equal to 4. If I introduce square root, what must I not forget? Plus 1. But b is equal to 2, because b has to be positive. You want to say plus minus 2? It's going to have to be 2 only. Because the condition for the exponential equation is that b has to be positive. Okay? Otherwise you're going to toggle negative positive. And you won't get this function out as we have to. Smooth function. Okay? Any confusion with regards to this question? People, these are common asked exam questions. Okay. So there's 3.4. Right, so question 3.4. The graph of g of x equal to negative 2x plus 8 is sketched below. Okay? A and B are x-intercepts, x and y-intercepts respectively of g. Respectively means that A is on x and B is on x. Okay, that is wrong, eh? We are told that the graph of g of x equal to negative 2 to the raised to the power of x plus 8 is sketched below. A and B are the x and y intercepts of respectively of g. So A had to be of x and B had to be of. Okay, but that is just something that we overlooked when we drew up the paper. Okay, but normally that is in that order it means. Okay, so first question. The question says, write down the domain of g of x. So how do you calculate the domain? What is domain? All possible x value. So what is the domain of this graph? Does it go to negative infinity? Positive infinity? Yes. So it's all the values for x. Not so. So how do I represent that? I say x is an element or real numbers. Not so. Let's look at the question 2. We're moving too slow, people. Huh? Yes. Okay, I'll move a bit faster. Okay, determine the equation of the asymptote of g. So what's the equation of the asymptote of g? Y is equal to 8. That's your horizontal asymptote here. Y is equal to 8. Which is this. Where do we get it from? We get it from. Okay, you all agree with that? Alright. So y is equal to 8. Then in number 3 we are asked, determine the coordinates of A and B. So what is A? What is A, people? A is your y-intercept. So you say y-intercept, let x equal to 0. So you say g of 0 equals negative 2, 0 plus 8. It's going to give you, this is going to give you negative 1. Negative 1 plus 8, it's going to give you 7. Did I answer the question? No, they want the coordinates of A. Therefore, A is going to be 7 and 0. You all okay with that? Let's look at B. B is your y x-intercept. 0 and 7. Okay, sorry, my mistake. Alright, so we got y-intercept. What do you do? No, x-intercept. What do you do for the x-intercept? Let y equal to 0. So we got 0 is equal to negative 2 raised to x plus 8. So 2x is equal to 8 can be written as 2 cubed. Therefore x is equal to 3. Not so? So what's the coordinates of B? 3 and 0. How's that? You all okay with that? Sorry about that. Then the last question here, if g of x is reflected over the y-axis, we form the new equation of h. Determine the equation of h. So what's the rule if something is reflected in the y-axis? X becomes negative. You all agree with that? So the g of x graph is negative 2 to the raised to x plus 8. So if I let x become negative, then we'll have y equals negative 2 raised to negative x plus 8. You all agree with that? it could have been written as negative half raised to the x plus 8 because of the negative exponent. But do I have to write it like that? No. Okay. We are also told if G is a reflection over the y-axis to form the new graph H. So this is the equation of H of x. Not so? Any confusion? No. So this basically brings us to the end of question 3. Let's look at question 4. In question 4 we are told that Ashley has 4,500 in the savings account. The bank pays an interest rate of 4.25% compounded annually. Calculate the amount Ashley will receive if she, okay, that's the typing there, typo. If she decides to withdraw the money after 30 months, which formula do I use here? Compound formula. What's the compound formula? A is equal to P into 1 plus I to the exponent. What's the principal value? 4,500 into 1 plus 0,0425 to the exponent 30 months. But remember, the N is your timing, years. So how many years is this? It's 30 over 12, which is 24, 6.5 years, 2.5 years. No? 2.5 years. Okay, so that's 2.5. You all agree with that? Why could I put just 30 over 12? There's 4,500, open brackets 1 plus 0, comma, 0,425 to the exponent 2.5. Or I could have just pressed the answer, which is the last answer calculated. So she'll get 4,993 Rand and 47 cents. What if the question was how much interest she would have gotten? What difference would we have done there? You subtract that answer you got there from with 4,500. That will give you the interest that that money has earned over that time span. Are you all okay with that? Okay. In question 4.2, the average rate of inflation in South Africa. If it says inflation, which formula do I use? Compound. So A is equal to P into 1 plus I to the exponent. Over the last 10 years was 8.86% per annum. The current price of a loaf of bread is. So what value is this? The P value or your A value? A value. Why? Because we're ending off with this amount. This is what will happen today. For the past 10 years, so the P value is probably what we need to calculate. Calculate the expected price of a loaf of bread in 10 years' time. Nope. This is actually not A, it's your P value. So I was expecting them to ask us what was the price of the bread 10 years ago. Okay. So here we are asked to calculate the expected price of a loaf of bread in 10 years' time. If the rate of inflation continues at the same rate, which is beginning ended with 8.86. Are you all okay with that? So what we're calculating is our final amount, your A value. So it's 13.50 cents into 1 plus 0.0886 to the exponent 10 years. Because there's 13.50 into 1 plus 0.0886 to the exponent 10. That gives you 31 Rand and 55 cents. Okay, are you all okay with that? Let's look at 3.3. 4.3. So in question 4.3, the following advertisement appears with regards to buying a bicycle and hire purchase. Hire purchase is what? simple interest. Hire purchase is simple interest. Simple interest formula. A is equal to P into 1 plus I times. Okay, you all agree with that? The hire purchase price, purchase price. In other words, your cash price is 5,999. Required deposit is 600 rand. The loan term, only 18 months at 8% per annum simple interest. Calculate the monthly amount that the person has to budget for in order to pay for the bicycle. So in other words, you must work out the monthly installment amount. Not so? How do you work out the monthly installment? It's going to be A over N times 12 for the monthly installment. Okay? So your P value is the loan amount. Not so? So how do you work out your P value? It's going to be your cash price minus your deposit, which is going to give us 5,399. Is that correct? Let's apply the formula. A is equal to 5,399 rand into 1 plus the interest rate 0,08 times your time in years. It's going to be 18 over 12. Or I could have said 1.5. So 18 over 12 is 1.5. Or 3 over 2. So that's going to give us 5,399 into 1 plus 0,08 times 18 over 12. That gives us 6,046 rand and 88 cents. But I have answered the question. So for your monthly installment, is 6046.88 over 18 months. Or I can say 1.5 times 12. Or I could have said 3 over 2 times 12. Or I could have said 18 over 12 times. It's all the same. Okay, you all okay with that? Divided by 18. 335 rand and 94 cents. 335 rand and 94 cents. Okay, any confusion there? You all okay with that? Alright. In question 4.4. That is the last question here. In 4.4, the following information is given. 1 ounce is equal to 28.35 grams. $1 is 16 rand and 21 cents. Calculate the rand value of 1 kilogram gold bar. If 1 ounce of gold is worth $49, sorry. So 1 kilo gold bar. Okay, so firstly, 1 ounce of gold is given as that. We need to know how many ounces is present here. Not so. So if 1 ounce is equal to 28.35 gram. 1 kilogram is how many grams? 1,000. So there's 1,000 grams. So in the ratio, we only multiply or divide. So how do I get from there to there? I multiply this by 1,000 over 28. You all agree with it? No? Or we could have said 1,000 divided by 1,000 divided by 28.34. So it would be 20,000 over 567. Okay? Point decimal is going to be 35.27. So in other words, I'm multiplying this 28,35 by 35,27 to get 1,000. You understand? So what I do on one side, I must do on the other side. So if I multiply this by also 1,000 over 28,35, it gives me 35,273 ounces. You all okay with that? Right. So in dollars, how much is that worth? So if 1 ounce is equal to $1,949, then 35,273 ounces will be equal to, how do I move from 1 to 35, multiply. So 1,949 multiplied by 35,273 ounce. So that would be an answer multiplied by 1949. It's going to give you 68,747, 68,747, 7 or 18 dollars. Not so. But they want you to work it out in rands. Not so? So $1. So look at here, $1 is equal to 16 rand and 21 cents. Not so? So 68,747, $80 is equal to 16 rand and 21 multiplied by. So how do I move from 1 to that? I multiply by that value. So 68,747, 80. So you multiply that by 16,21. That gives us 1,401,76. So 1 kilogram gold bar will be worth, at this figures, 1,114,401,76. Okay. Any confusion at this point? Any questions with regards to this question paper? No? All right. And that's the end of this paper. Okay, now we're looking at paper 2 of November, the follow-up paper with this. Okay? You guys know you're writing 2 papers, no? Of 2.5 hours each, or 2 hours each. I think it's 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken. But if they give you 2.5, take it. No? Right, here we go. First question. The question says, given below, not alongside, below, is a parallelogram. So if it says parallelogram, what comes to mind? Huh? 4 properties. What are the 4 properties? Opposite sides are parallel. Opposite sides are equal. Opposite angles are equal. And diagonals bisect each other. Those 4 should pop into your head immediately. And you should qualify the shape for that. Okay? We are then told that E is a midpoint of AB. E is the midpoint of AB. How do you calculate that? So I would be able to calculate E using the midpoint formula. Not so. Then, coordinates of A, which is negative 2 and 5, B, which is 6 and 3, C is 4 and negative 5, and D is negative 4 and 3. First question. So everything given here, it's on the diagram. You all agree with that? So I don't need that anymore. That's what you guys do, must no? You don't need something in your life anymore, you toss it aside. No? Yes, okay, good. Let's answer these questions with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete as we go along, so as to keep the diagram in focus, okay? Right, first question. Calculate the coordinates of E, the midpoint of AB. So, midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay. So if I make this x1, that must be y1, x2, y2. You all agree with that? No. So, that's going to give us negative 2 plus 6 over 2 and 5 plus 3 over 2. So I'm going to give you 2, 8, 4. Not so. It's going to be 2 and 4. Any confusion there? No. Okay. Then it says in 1.2, show that AB is perpendicular to BC. So that means to say that you must show that's 90. So there's more than one way of doing it. I can calculate the length of this here, of the triangle, and prove that the theorem of Pythagoras, the converse thereof, can be applied, or is true for that. Okay? Or gradients. It's going to be a bit easy. Not so. So I work out the gradient of AB, and then I work out the gradient of BC. If I multiply the two together and I get an answer of negative 1, then they are perpendicular. You all agree with that? Alright. So let's check. We go the gradient of AB. How do you work out the gradient? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we go 5 minus 3 over negative 2 minus 6. That gives me 2 over negative 8, which is negative a quarter. So if I can prove that BC is 4, I've done the job. Also, so the gradient of BC is going to be 3 minus 5, which is plus 5, over 6 minus 4. Okay? So it will be 8 over 2, which is 4. So you see, yes, it is the case. So I say, since I state the obvious, the gradient of AB times the gradient of BC is equal to negative a quarter times 4, which is negative 1. So in conclusion, therefore, AB is perpendicular to BC. Okay. You all understand? Any confusion here? I'm going to write the gradients in here. So that gradient was negative a quarter, and that is. Okay, and this guy here is 90. Okay, you all okay with that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this information off here, these calculations, so that I can use that space to do my next calculation. Right. Now in question 1.3, the question says calculate the length of AB. So how are you going to calculate this length? Distance formula. So what's the distance formula? The square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Not so? So, it's going to be minus 2 minus 6 squared plus 5 minus 3 squared. So that is going to give us square root of negative 2 minus 6 squared plus 5 minus 3 squared. They give it 2 root 17. Is that correct? 2 root 17. Then in 1.4 the question says, hence. What does hence mean? Use the previous answer. Calculate the area of triangle ADC. So it's ADC. How do you calculate the area of a triangle? Of base times height. But remember, this is a parallelogram. So what do we know? Opposite angles are equal, opposite sides are equal. Not so? So that means to say that DC is 2 root 17 as well. Not so? DC is 2 root 17. What's the reason? Opposite sides in a parallelogram, see? Not so? Angle D is 90 degrees. Why? Opposite angles in a parallelogram is equal. For the area of a triangle, what do I need? Half base, which is DC, which I have, times perpendicular height relative to the base, is AD. Do I have AD? Can I calculate AD? Yes. How do you calculate AD? Huh? Distance formula. So AD is equal to the square root of. Don't have to write the reason down again. With the formula, sorry. So it's negative 2 minus 4 squared plus 5 minus 3 squared. So you put that in the calculator. The square root of negative 2 plus 4 squared plus 5 plus 3, which is 8 squared, gives you 2 root 17. So what type of shape is this in action? Can it be a rhombus? Yes, all sides in this case are going to be equal. But over and above this, that's 90. So this is actually a square. Okay, you get special parallelograms. In special parallelograms, one of it is a square. Okay. So, have I answered the question? No. So, what is the area of this triangle? So, half base, which is DC times height, which is AD. Again, you don't have to write the step now. So, it's going to be half times 2 root 17 times 2 root 17. Root 17 times root 17 is 17. Times 2 is going to give you 34 units. Is that correct? Huh? Any confusion, people? You all okay with this? So I'm going to take this off. .5, another bell is going to ring soon, so I must get through this quickly. Yes? 34. 70 times 2. That is 34, 24. 34. Sorry man. It's not me, no? It's the board. Yes, sure. Yes. Which way am I going? Okay. So in question 1.5, we are told, right, we just need, you see this here? In question 1.5, we are told, in 1.5, we are told, find the equation of the line that is parallel to BC and goes through the point 2, negative 2 and 3. So the line is parallel to BC. BC, yeah? Line is parallel to BC. How do you know if lines are parallel? Lines are parallel? Gradients are equal. So the gradient of this line is the same as the gradient of that line, which is what? 4 in this case. Not so. But it's going through negative 2 and 3. So it's approximately here, negative 2 and 3. Can you see that, people? Whoops. So that's the line I'm working on. You guys understand? What's wrong with micronesia? Nothing. Nothing. So we have the gradient of this line, the same gradient as BC, which is 4. We have worked this out already. Not so? So what's the equation of this line? Y is equal to 4x plus C. So I substitute a point this line on this graph that I'm sure about, which is what? So you'll substitute negative 2 and 3. So 3 is equal to 4 times negative 2 plus C. So that is 8 in the negative. Take it out to become positive. So C will be 11. Did I answer the question now? The equation is Y is equal to 4x plus. Okay, you guys okay with that? The next question says, next question says, if ECKB is a parallelogram, EC, yes, is that not the C there? ECK B ECK, no, is here this here and that. I say, you all agree with that? So ECKB is a parallelogram. No? What do we know? Parallelogram, opposite sides are equal. Parallel, opposite sides are equal. Opposite angles are equal, and diagonals bisect each other. Right. So considering that information, they want to calculate K. Now there's one of two ways of calculating K. I can work out the midpoint of that line there, and I go in the reverse to calculate the midpoint, using the midpoint formula to get K. That's one way. Okay? Otherwise, what I can do is I can say that we have your parallelogram here, that is E, which is 2 and 4, This is B, which is 6 and 3. We have K. And we have C, which is, what's the C value here? 4 and negative 1. So, remember that in a parallelogram, those opposite sides are equal and so on. So, what is the distance from there to there? From E to B? 2 and 6. How can it be 7? From 2 to 6 is how many? 4 units. So 4 plus 4 is 8. You see that? From there to there. From 4 to negative 5 is how many units? 9. So I'm dropping 9. What's 3 minus 9? Negative 6. So therefore K is 8 and negative 6. And the last question. Okay, so K is going to write it in here, 8 and negative 6. Does it make sense, people? Okay? Everything is going to make sense now so that you can leave that. I'm sure. The last one, we are asked, are points A, C and M. So it's A, C and M. Collinear. So M is 15, so it's far down here, which is 15 and negative 23 over. If points are collinear, what do we know? Gradients are the same. So we're going to work out the gradient of AC. Change in Y but change in X. Okay? So this here is going to be 5 minus 5 over minus 2 minus 4. That will be 10 over negative 6, which is negative 5 over 3. So that is this gradient here from there to there. Now if the gradient from A to M is the same, or the gradient from C to M is the same, then they are collinear. I mean to say it lies on the same line. If it's not the same, it won't be collinear. Okay? You guys understand? So let's go with the gradient of A, M. Change in Y but change in X, so it's going to be 5 minus, so it becomes 23 over a third, over negative 2 minus 15. So let's punch that in the calculator. It's fraction. So it's 5. You see it's a mixed fraction. So I press shift, then the fraction button. Gives you 23 and 1 over 3 over negative 2 minus 15. Negative 5 over 3. So what does that tell us? So we say, since we state the obvious, since the gradient of AC is equal to the gradient of AM, which is equal to negative 5 over 3. Therefore, A, C, and M are collinear. Okay, you all agree with that? Any confusion? So I'll probably record the rest of the question paper. Some memo. Then I'll post it in the group, okay? But I'll send the next paper to you guys for Thursday. We'll start the new paper. People enjoy the rest of your day. Good morning, class.
Hello.